it's time for Up Neat and On the Rocks with Moët Hennessy's portfolio mixologist, Charles Hardwick. Charles, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Well, episode 6.
Episode 6 is on deck. Talk to me. We're going to be tasting something really special today here, correct?
Oh, actually, I had a question that I thought about in prep for today.
Okay, here we go.
It's not you look suspicious of me before I even ask the question.
I wonder why.
Oh, I know. All right, actually, let me tell a little story. I know you're passionate about stories to set it up. So, as everyone knows who's listening, I'm new to the brand, right? This is my 5th or 6th month. And my buddy over here, Rich, he was very influential in helping onboard me not only to Moët Hennessy, but to the world of wines and spirits. And when I got to the Scotch portion of my training, I was like, no, I'm not a Scotch person. Like, there's nothing about me that is a Scotch person. I don't smoke cigars. There's just no way in the world I'm going to like Scotch. And Rich said, I think you should just go buy a bottle, and I think you should just go try it. So he recommended to me a bottle of Glenmorangie, and I have responsibly crushed that bottle. I love drinking Glenmorangie, and I drink it neat. Like, I look at myself and I don't even know who I am anymore. And it made me realize I had this terrible misconception about Scotch as a person. So I thought to myself, Charles, 30 years of experience, am I alone in that, or is this something that is present in the Scotch world, these kinds of misconceptions about it?
Yeah, I mean, there absolutely are. Thankfully, a lot of them are kind of falling by the wayside lately. You know, traditionally, in years past, it was thought of that Scotch was this thing for men, and men of a certain age, and men with elbow patches on tweed blazers and stubby little fingers
and they
things like
smoke
that.
cigars.
Yeah, and they often smoke cigars or even a pipe sometimes. But as we have started to evolve in our drinking culture, we've discovered that that is not true. That there are plenty of people of all kinds who like whiskey, people of all backgrounds, plenty of women who love and enjoy Scotch, and there's all kinds of ways to enjoy Scotch and single malt Scotch in particular. So, those preconceptions and misconceptions, as you mentioned, they are really, kind of falling by the wayside. We're becoming more informed about how to talk about Scotch, how to make suggestions when you're behind the bar or sitting next to someone at the bar and, talking about what you like and versus what they like. The dialogue has really gone up, a level and gotten a lot more nuanced and sophisticated.
Yeah, I think about the trade too. Don't judge a book by its cover,
Definitely
right? Recommend
do that.
Scotch. Just go for it because I love it.
Yeah, anticipation is great, and it's we've evolved as humans to a certain degree to do that, but when you're really kind of strictly tied to those kinds of, anticipatory, thoughts and some might say judgments, and you strictly adhere to them, then that's when it becomes kind of problematic and you're really limiting the experiences that you can have and that you can share.
There's a lot of misconceptions about the seasonality of Scotch. Most often people enjoy it in the colder months, but it's very versatile.
Yes, it can be really refreshing. And, whiskey as a category is really having a moment in the form of a newer moment, a resurgent moment in the form of the whiskey highball. It's come about, kind of ironically through Japanese whiskey and, a particular brand of Japanese whiskey that's gotten really popular. But it drinks well, this whiskey highball, which Rich and I think we're going to discuss a little bit.
Yeah, I mentioned the whiskey highball earlier, and I would love having someone here with your background to help define what a whiskey highball is, because I'm slightly frustrated. Around the country, I've ordered whiskey highballs, and I often get questions of what is that or what's in it.
Yeah.
Can you we can put this to rest? What is the official kind of definition of a whiskey highball?
Yeah. That's kind of really surprising me that, it's like we've kind of lost the part of our heritage, drinking heritage. Thankfully, it's coming back. But essentially a whiskey highball, to cut to the chase, is really just whiskey and soda. Now, you could have, say, ginger ale or something like that, or even ginger beer. It's some form of effervescent mixer, but typically, by default, it's going to be a whiskey and soda. with a nice little garnish, maybe lemon twist, something like that. So it's very easy to make. I like them in the moment that we're seeing again now. It's being served a little bit taller, almost like in a Collins glass. But yeah, I think a lot of people have heard, the highball glass and about a highball glass. I may not know what it looks like, but it's a little bit shorter than a Collins glass. That one is nice, but I like just a little bit more soda in there, year round, especially now. It's really hot and humid out.
There you go. Perfect.
Rich is so happy
I'm
that
happy.
you have made that
I'm
very
just going to take
clear.
my headphones off and leave and go get a whiskey highball.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Glenmorangie. We have a bottle of original in front of us. What do you have in store for us today, Charles?
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna really briefly talk about how to have the best experience in tasting, Glenmorangie and really, any single malt Scotch, any spirit really. But this has got so much going on there that I thought I'd kind of take you through some best practices when you're tasting a spirit, and in this case, Glenmorangie. So we have in front of us, for those of you who are listening on your devices. We have these nice little, for the ASMR people out there too. We have these lovely whiskey tasting glasses. If you've ever had port, they kind of look like a port glass. They're sometimes called pony glasses. We are blessed to have these little sort of caps on top, which are really nice. What we're going to do is we have about an ounce of spirit inside here. You can have however much you want. You just don't want it to fill up too high because you want a good amount of oxygen in the glass for our purposes. Before we take the lids off permanently, sorry, Rich, what we're going to do is just swirl the whiskey around in the glass. And the reason why we are doing that is because we want to kind of release all of those aromas that are within the whiskey and let them fill up the glass and not escape the glass. That way we'll have a better nosing experience once we take the lid off, which we're about to do now. So we can remove the lid now. We're going to try to work around our mics here so it doesn't look too awkward. We're going to get kind of close to our noses, but not too close. Unlike wine, where you can really put your nose in the glass, there's risks inherent if you do that with the spirit. You can really kind of fry those receptors in there, and it'll really limit your tasting experience for the next 2 to 3 hours. So you don't want to get too close. You want to just kind of get it under your nose a little bit. So I'm going to try to do this while I speak into the mic correctly. If you can, it's great to just gently blow into the glass a little bit too, and that will push out a lot of those aromas as well. And then you can bring it a little bit closer to your nose. Some people like to angle it a little bit too. Some nostrils are, you're a little bit left dominant or right dominant with your nostrils. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to say it is.
This smells so
wonderful,
good.
right? Do you have any sort of feedback on what you're getting from
It's taking me to Scotland.
the nasal experience?
Yeah. Vanilla apricot.
warm.
So much, right?
Peachy.
You can swirl it again.
A little peachy.
It smells like summer. I don't know if that's
I love
an appropriate
descriptors
word, but that's what it smells like.
that are abstract like that too, because that's part of the experience too, is not just associating with a fruit or whatever, but like a time and a place. Great spirits tell stories. So we're going to take our first sip here, but just a little bit, and that one is really almost going to be just to kind of prime our palate a little bit first, before we really get into the real tasting experience. So let's do that a little bit, just a little bit on the tip of your tongue almost. Kind of take that in, and certainly make some notes in your head, but we won't share them yet. And then now this is the real, where we're gonna really I think, be able to really clearly identify what we're tasting. You also want to get some oxygen in there too. Breathe through your nose a little bit, through your mouth, and let that oxygen do its thing and kind of activate all of the flavors across your entire palate, mid palate, front, back, all of that. And tell me what you're thinking.
It's just so enjoyable. I am continually
So approachable, right?
surprised
Super
by how
approachable.
much I like it.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
It is. It's so easygoing and it feels so good.
And
then
we're
as you-
enjoying it at room temperature,
Yeah, and we should have mentioned that too. Yeah, another great practice too is if you have a little dropper or something like that, or even a straw, you can take some nice spring water and just put a drop or two within your whiskey if you're drinking it neat. and that'll like give you a whole other experience and like add another layer to your experience. And then even now, okay, so it's been about 30 seconds, 45 seconds after we tasted it, and you can still really feel it, like kind of coming up through through your nose and across your tongue, and there's just life within the spirit, and it's water of life, right? That's what the term whiskey is derived from. So the spirit really takes on a life of its own. Glenmorangie takes on a life of its own as you continue to experience it in this way.
Let's make a cocktail.
I'd like an Ardbeg cocktail.
Yeah. Well, we're going to make a really cool Ardbeg cocktail, a little bit disruptive. It's taking a classic and kind of putting an Ardbeg spin on it. We're going to make an Ardbeg Daiquiri right now. So let's get started. You can't make a daiquiri without lime juice. So we got some really nice freshly squeezed lime juice here. And then we have some simple syrup. I am making 2, and we're going to divide them 4 ways. So that's why you see me probably, if you're paying attention to the jigger, why I'm pouring a little bit more into the jigger. So that was 3/4 lime and half simple. And then we would do 2 ounces of our Ardbeg here, right into our shaker.
This is the Ardbeg tin, I think, right?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yes, oops, sorry. Gonna get some ice in there.
Did you bring this ice?
This is like the podcast running joke, the journey of ice, to the podcast.
Yes, the
I'm
ice.
so glad he brought ice.
We have our shaker here. You should definitely see that. Make sure you turn it the right side up. Certain person here wants to shake the cocktail.
Don't be jealous,
don't
Brian.
knock your teeth out. Be very careful. A little harder. Come on. Get back into it.
Oh my God!
Shake, Laura,
I'm
shake.
shaking it. It's like.
That's not bad. Okay, that's good.
How'd I do?
Yeah, that's good.
Good?
Yeah.
One more. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Nope, you need to do it.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so we got to separate the shakers. We got a nice froth on there. Where's the camera? And this is the fun part, or the second most fun part. You got the pouring.
I love the glasses that we've chosen for those that are looking.
Sorry for the drip. We're trying to sort of pour a little quickly here.
They are beautiful.
And you're doing
coops.
this over a mic stand. So, I mean, this
It's
is
a little,
some good stretching.
Not exactly bar conditions here.
It's the
but,
Mixology Olympics.
Yeah.
Lynette at Speed Rack would be thrilled with this.
Exactly. We've given you lots of hurdles, Charles, and you are.
Studio
nailing it.
accidents happening here. All right, so we have our Ardbeg, lovely, smoky, peaty Isla
Exuberant.
Daiquiri.
Intense.
Exuberant. It's 86 degrees outside,
right.
so I can't.
I can't wait to taste this.
Cheers. Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for bringing the ice.